Come, Nerevar, come. Witness the exclusively mongrel dog of the Imperial Gods and Saints. No, I am not giving a sermon about the 9 divines. I have spoken about 9 divines in 2 previous sermons that you can find on the parchment down below, so we will be focusing on exclusively Imperial Pantheon. Let us begin with Shezzar, or the mongrel dog interpretation of Lorkhan. Let it be known not only I can't entirely agree with their interpretation, but I believe someone who takes this nonsense at face value should gaze upon the heart. Shezzar is also known as the god of Enwas. Oh, apologies, god of man or the missing sibling. He, allegedly, tricked the Aedra into creating Mundus. Of course, they got mad and ripped him apart. As you can see, I have his heart right here with me. He is also similar to the Nordic Enwa interpretation of Lorkhan, shore. Basically, for the humans, he represents the idea of humans standing against the Aldmeri oppression. Also, there is a concept of the Shezzarine, which is said to be a mortal incarnation of Shezzar. Some Enwas suggested as Shezzarine throughout history include Zurin Arctus, a mongrel dog of the Empire serving Tiber Septim, Ismir Wulfharth, the High King of Skyrim in the First Era, from Atmora, and finally, Pelinal Whitestrake. While we won't be discussing the Shezzarines today other than Pelinal, if you want to hear a detailed sermon on the Shezzarines, please write Enwa Shezzarines in the parchment below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my sermons and raise your thumbs to honor the 6th house and the tribe unmourned. Now, moving on to Pelinal Whitestrake. Pelinal Whitestrake, renowned as the Divine Crusader, was an immortal hero, legendary warrior, sorcerer, king, and crusader who fought as a champion of the farm tool queen, Alessia. It is said that Pelinal emerged into Nirn like a padomaic carried by Sithis and all other forces of change. There were theories that he was from the future because he probably knew who Reman was. He did have a divine nature to him, and therefore some consider him to be a Shezzarine, as I have mentioned before. Of course, I do not believe this myself. I think he was just an overpowered Enwa. The false gods of the 8 divines gave him an artifact each so he could be even more proactive in elevating the needies from farm tool status to Enwa status. But he was more than a warrior. Maybe even more than a hero. He was, or become, something better, something supernatural. To them, he was the Divine Crusader. I will say that he was outraged due to the death of his apprentice Huna, and went completely mad, eradicating everyone in his way, friend or foe. He attacked a bunch of farm tool Khajiit and honored the 6th house and the tribe, unmourned in a way. That seems like a fun time. He then fought the Ayleid false god king Umaril at the White Gold Tower, defeating him. But the rest of the Ayleid kings surrounded him, and, well, let's say this Enwa turned into 8 smaller Enwas. What was strange, though, is that he was alive when Alessia was expiring, which does not make any sense. But nothing makes sense about the first-era mongrel dogs of the Empire, Nerevar. Also, Umaril was not defeated, so some other Mad Enwa had to mantle him later on. Who would mantle him other than the hero of Kvatch, the future Daedric Prince of Madness, Sheogorath? Umaril was destroyed for good by the hero of Kvatch. Now we are going to talk about Alessia, also known as Alesh, the farm tool queen that elevated humans or needs from farm tool status to Enwa status. Not much of an improvement, but she was responsible for putting an end to the Merethic era and establishing the First Empire, otherwise known as the Alessian Empire. Anyhow, after ridding Cyrodiil from the Ayleids, she instilled in the belief in the 8 of the 9 divines. She constantly prayed to them, and they, the false gods that they are, answered her. This is the reason she's on this list. She might be an Enwa, but she did have connections to the gods. Overall, though, she was a savage Enwa who was made into a saint by the Empire. She ruled her savage Enwa followers through terror and oppression. She was not a great queen. She was a tyrant, a false queen, and an enemy of the Chimer, and later on Dunmer race by proxy. While we were not hostile towards these mongrel dogs back in the day, she created the butterfly effect, which eventually led to the establishment of the Third Empire, which ultimately led to my own demise due to the plotting of Emperor Uriel Septim. Oh, and she was also married to a winged bullman. Morihaus is a winged bullman or minotaur, and despite his significance, you know how I feel about creatures such as these. He is the son of the false god of nature, Kinnereth, or Kine, as the Enwa Nord barbarians call her, more like mistake of nature. Basically, this man-bull or wing minotaur farm tool helped Alessia in her rebellion against the Aelids. While Pelinal was engaging in open combat with the Aelid kings, Morihaus and Alessia were spending their days gathering armies and probably making Belhazzara, who inherited the throne of the empire after the passing of Alessia. I guess Alessia did not forget her farm tool origins despite being elevated to the Enwa level. He is still being worshipped to this day by some cults as a god, even though he is a farm tool false god. Now we are talking about the One. There is a temple for him in the mongrel dog imperial city. The belief in the One came to fruition during the farm tool prophet Maruk, who propagated the belief in one single divine spirit. The Alessian Order was centered around the belief in the One, and anyone caught believing in anything else was brutalized. The Marukati Selective also caused a dragon break, trying to separate the elven part of Akatosh, Auriel, from the human part of Akatosh. I have no idea how that works, but Auriel and Akatosh are both false gods and are not even human or elf. I find the belief in the One to be basically as silly as the belief in the All-Maker that the Skal have. I have mentioned Reman before. Reman Cyrodiil is the mongrel dog emperor of the Second Empire. The human Enwas sure do like their emperors. He is revered as the worldly god, or conqueror god, in the same way as Tiber Septim or Talos is being revered today. He managed to thwart the Akaviri invasion and conquered each province in Tamriel, except, of course, Morrowind. The mongrel dogs of the Empire were unable to conquer us back then because the Dunmer are obviously superior. This Enwa tried to conquer Morrowind in the Fourscore War, but he did not account for the fact that he will meet a similar fate to other mongrel dog emperors, an assassination. The Morag Tong assassinated him for the Enwa Emperor and the false god that he is. Moving on, Kulakane, known widely as Emperor Zero, was an Enwa petty king of Falkreath who sought to claim the imperial city amidst the interregnum, like many others at the time. So essentially, he is one of the reasons, other than Tiber Septim, why Morrowind got taken over by these Enwas. He was able to unite the Colovian estates with help from his prized general, Nord Enwa Hjalti Earlybeard, and his conquests were the progenitors of the third mongrel dogs of the Empire. Basically, after the Second Empire, Cyrodiil was a complete mess full of warring states. And basically, Emperor Zero put an end to that internal strife, creating a stable state. Plot twist, though, that Hjalti Earlybeard Enwa I was talking about, it is with all likelihood Tiber Septim himself. He was, of course, a dragonborn, and therefore possessed the powers of a demigod. He served under Emperor Zero, until Emperor Zero kicked the bucket. He has since been memorialized by the cult of Emperor Zero. The mongrel dogs also have two false gods that don't exactly fit their pantheon. There is Sethiate, otherwise known as the Order of Seth, which the Enwa Jagar Tharn followed. It's unknown who or what Seth really is, but an order worships him called the Brotherhood of Seth. This is such a generic name for a false god. Seriously, it could have been called the Brotherhood of Bob, and these mongrel dogs would have bought it. He is worshipped in the city-state of Gideon in the farm tool country of Blackmarsh. There are also the Deep Ones in the small mongrel dog village near Coral called Hackdirt. And I have got to tell you, Nerevar, this one is quite the wild ride. The Deep Ones made the residents of Hackdirt rich in exchange for blood sacrifices, which caused the Imperial Legion to intervene and burn the city down. However, they were not deterred from worshipping the Deep Ones. The Deep Ones have their own Bible, and once the hero of Kvatch fights the most disgusting-looking Enwas in Tamriel's history, they could be heard whispering deep from beneath Hackdirt. Seriously, these Enwas will believe in anything. And so concludes the sermon on the mongrel dog of the Empire Gods and Saints. Make sure to subscribe to my sermons, and if you want to hear more, hear my 2 sermons on the 9 divines. Don't forget to honor the 6th house and the tribe unmourned by writing down on the parchment below which mongrel dog god you dislike the most. I would like to thank our patrons and supporters. Connor Runda,